Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. We're your hosts, Eric Amano, and this is episode 57. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin, tech, and wealth so you too can build and sell your first company. Dale.
All right. I like that, man. So, you know, I always have been saying that I'm an entrepreneur by heart. But there is something here that I haven't done, though. It's like building something that is a billion-sized dollar company, right?
We're working on that one, right?
It's the Olympics. It's the Olympics, right? So, do you know who is Tom Sosnoff?
Sosnoff. He sounds familiar. Is that the tasty guy?
The guy with the weird kind of hat. I don't even know the name of that little hat. But yes.
Fedora? Is that what it's called?
No, Fedora is
that's a
just
Linux. That's a
yeah.
Linux. I don't know what it is, but it kind of looks
Anyways,
like that. It's a funny hat.
if you have dabbled into some sort of options, you landed into this guy's content, which is tasty. It's basically it's kind of weird. Also, the name. I think that the name was because he wanted to have like a bites, tasty bites of financial knowledge.
Yeah. So I've seen his podcast. He's got a Tasty Live, is I think what his podcast is called, and he deals with how to trade stocks essentially, right, or options and things like that.
So this guy kind of right now is again making the news. A little bit of background. This guy was a trader on the pit, like they call them pit traders. If you don't know what it is, it's basically the old school traders. The reason why they call them that is because usually in the stock exchange they are circular, and they just like a mayhem there, right? Just like, and they call them pits. So basically, they just were throwing everyone. There is a saying in Wall Street: bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs gets slaughtered, right? So don't be a pig. You can make money literally going up or going down, right? So we have seen it with Bitcoin. People sometimes make money in either side. But yes, this guy was a pit trader, and then he started building a software. He was not a techie. He was not a programmer or anything like that. But he knew that there was a software that was needed. That software is called Thinkorswim. He built it in, I don't know, the last 20 years, 1990s, at the end of 1990s, and so on. And then he sold that company though for 600 mils to TD Ameritrade. Do you remember Paul? Paul, our friend from.
Yeah. Good old Paul. I haven't seen him in a while though.
Yeah. So that guy, he basically, when I got curious into a stock market, because he always was just talking about stocks, right? And I mentioned, hey, what broker is good? And he basically told me, hey, TD Ameritrade, just use Thinkorswim. Don't mess with any other else because they suck. And it's like, that's how I got to know basically Thinkorswim. Do you use Thinkorswim?
Yeah. They got, I think, I don't know who bought whatever, but it was part of TD Ameritrade and then now Schwab. So I've got Schwab also. So we got some stuff over there. So I've used it with that. But, the strategy that Paul used, I think worked out because he retired, or retired from like day job in his early 40s, I think. So whatever he was doing actually worked. So I guess Thinkorswim was pretty good for him.
Well, sometimes you see some entrepreneurs that maybe they're one pony show, right? This guy is not. He started building a second company, which was kind of like another trading company, but it was more tailored to options. A very kind of UI for you to see how to move your positions in options trading. And the guy just kind of sold it, and he made 1.2 billion in that company.
Lightning struck twice for him. So that's pretty good. So Thinkorswim, he sold that for 750 million, right? And then now this other one for how many? 1.1, 1.2 billion?
The reason why the amounts fluctuate is because they make a deal with some pieces on cash, sometimes in this case 30% cash and the rest in equity. So depending where you're searching, they will tell you different numbers, and obviously depending when they are doing the cut. The reason why he sold it for a billion, but with a bunch of shares, those shares already went up. right? So that's the reason why now they're saying 1.2 billion.
Yeah. So I wonder what his plans are then now, because he has a podcast, right? And he's always talking about, this is how you do it, and he has interviews with different people about, how they made money with whatever they're investing in, what ideas they have. Is he going to continue to do that? I wonder.
He's gonna trade until he dies, man. He actually did which I applaud that. Like when you are able to find what you truly like, you just do it because of the freaking game, man. You just don't do. It's like I always tell people. Uh, it's like imagine the analogy here is imagine if you like to play an instrument, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you're good or not. Are you gonna wait until you're 60 to start playing an instrument like a guitar? No, you just freaking play it right now, even though you suck, right? So you develop the skill, and at some point, maybe you become pretty good, right? Some people that
That's
are
right.
super talented, and this guy, I think that is like that. He's gonna freaking trade to his last breath.
That's so true. And I know people are always thinking about like, okay, what job should I do? Where should I focus my time on? And that's probably one of the keys. It's like really start doing something that you enjoy doing, not just chasing the money, because that's going to get tiresome over time. So get into that. This guy started trading. Obviously, there's money, so it kind of makes sense that, or it's fortunate for him that he started off doing something where he can actually make money at. But you got to be good to make money. Trading is actually pretty difficult.
Oh yeah,
A lot of people lose their shirt, so don't think you can go in there and just start making buku's money. There's a lot to it. But this guy found a way to still do what he loves, which is the trading aspect, betting, whatever it is
mhm,
you might
yeah,
call it. But he built a platform. So you hear that a lot, actually, right? Um, During the gold rush, right? You're not the one out there mining for the gold, but you're the one selling the pickaxes and the
yep,
little filters and stuff like that. He took that approach. I think it's the platform that ended up winning out here. I mean, he's made a good amount. He's over 2 billion, I'm sure now, right?
yeah. I do recommend to people watch that episode with Pompliano. He interviewed this guy, and there were some good nuggets there on that interview, and the guy is funny too. He's an interesting character. I mean, look at his picture. He's like long hair, like a
Kind of looks like a
hippie, and
Smurf with the hat, but just not blue, right?
exactly, yeah. So the based on what I have noticed on trading, because I have been trading for a while now, there is kind of three aspects to it. Number one is to have a strategy, and that strategy could be whatever you want, right? So, and there is some people that they are very sophisticated, a lot of math if you want in that way, or there are some people that they are more emotional, it's like no, this company, more like type of feeling. Doesn't matter. I think that at the end of the day, it's a strategy. The second aspect is money management. It's kind of that betting size. If you bet
Mhm.
too much, you might lose your shirt, right? If you bet too little, you don't make money. So that kind of fluctuation on your money management system, you have to kind of settle on that. And the third one, in my opinion, is kind of like the psychology aspect, because you're gonna lose, and if you're thinking that you're never gonna lose, you're incorrect, right? So
Yeah.
it's like the combination of the three of them that kind of helps you to be a better or a worse trader.
Yeah, that's true. If you put your guardrails up and establish rules before you like get into the situations that are gonna come, you're more likely to make a better decision at that point rather than when you're like, oh shit, like I've lost a lot of money. What do I do? Right? That you're not thinking clearly. So it's good to have those rules established ahead of time so you don't get caught at that. But he said something interesting, and it's kind of something that actually is also similar with Bitcoin right now, right? He's saying right now the market is frothy. It's like frothy. What do you mean by that? I think he's saying like there's like volatility and things like that in the market right now. So
Mm.
you can see kind of big ups, but then also big downs. So that's what you're kind of seeing. But he's saying like um, something that you may not think of like as being something that lowers the risk is the liquidity. And that's something that we've been saying with Bitcoin also. There's whenever the liquidity is going up, and we're talking about like monetary liquidity, like overall in the economy, because of the quantitative easing or the rates, being lowered, there's going to be a little bit more liquidity in the market. There's going to be more money in the market sloshing around. He says that in general is going to raise some of these stock prices. So that lowers your risk a little bit. So I thought that was a really interesting insight that he had. And I think it was in when he was talking with Pomp, right? So it's really, really interesting. So it's important to understand kind of like what are these things in the market right now that will either lessen your risk or make your risk a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Smart guy, like he had a lot of good insights there.
A couple of interesting things is that he was creating a software for charting, and he didn't have charts. So that's another lesson there in
Fake it till
business.
you make it. What is that?
Listen to your customers, right? The guy started trying to sell the software, and the guy is basically like, dude, I mean, not everybody can see the numbers like you and trade with that. I need charts. The guy doesn't trade with charts, and all of this started because Pomp asked him, "How do you trade?" Which is also very good questions. Like maybe something here to replicate. But the guy said that he doesn't use charts. He doesn't care about macro. He doesn't care about any news. And everybody's like, "What the heck?" I mean, everybody's saying you should do this, you should do that. This guy does it in his own way. So, and the funny story here is like, well, then how do you trade? This guy, I'm not saying, and again, we are not financial advisors. It's just different approaches. The guy said that he hears his people around, and whatever they are betting on, like if they say that Tesla is going to go up, he goes on the other side. Literally, 100% contrarian.
Oh.
So
Oh,
he's like,
too
I take
funny.
the other position. Why? Somebody has to. So
Okay.
his argument is that nobody knows a crap. Like you can just need to learn how to manage your position, and eventually you'll make money. It's just a very different way instead of being directional up or down.
It's kind of funny because they say the same thing about crypto or Bitcoin. If everybody is saying the same thing, like buy, 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 that means you're at the top of the market and it's time to get out. Right? So
Well,
that's
also
pretty
also
interesting.
remember there is he was a market maker. I'm not sure if a lot of our community knows, but I'll mention it for some that they don't. A market maker is very important in the ecosystem. They create that liquidity, and what that means is that imagine that you are you buy some stocks in Tesla. If there was not enough liquidity, even if you want to be able to you want to sell your shares and nobody wanted it, then you cannot get out. You cannot sell them. So what the market makers do is just create like, okay, I'll help you. I'll just give you that money, and they'll hold them for somebody else to be able uh, to buy it. So they do that. They help to fill up the liquidity because there is a cost. We don't see
Yep.
it in the stock market because they are right now very tiny with some of these, but you can see it outside. Like if you're having like selling T-shirts, what happened? Maybe somebody a distributor, and then that way it kind of moves. But yeah, he was a market maker. That's the reason why he didn't care about the price, trying to sell or buy. He was just in the middle, trying to see connect who wants to buy and who wants to sell, and he would make money just with that transaction. Um, that's the reason why he said that he just trades by volatility,
Hmm.
that fluctuation. Because if you think about it, if a stock just is flat, they cannot make money. There is no somebody that wants to sell or buy. It's just flat, and that's the reason why he can trade in that way.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty interesting. So, hey, recommend you check that talk out, and even Tasty Live. He's got a lot of interesting nuggets, and he shares a lot of stories about other people, their strategies, and how they're approaching the market. The market tends to change a lot, so there's always something new to talk about, depending on the week that you go check him out. One of the interesting things also is like he thinks there's uh, this change coming in the market in terms of like the tokenization of stocks and things like that, digitizing a lot of things, where in the future it's going to be a lot more seamless. Like right now, there's a little bit of friction in the market when you want to buy and sell things.
Hmm.
But in the future, once everything's digitized, whether it's like on blockchain technology or something else, it's going to be a lot easier. And maybe these markets are going to grow so they're more worldwide versus kind of within a certain sector.
Yeah, the other thing that he mentioned is that the new wave of traders, that they are like diamond hands and hodlers. They're like used to like, yeah, like 10%, who cares? 20% drawdown, nah, put it in my top. so so he's saying that it's like it used to be very different before. Like people were like very afraid of like literally holding or having these drawdowns. And now with crypto, Bitcoin, and so on, is creating a new sets of rules for the new trader, which basically all of your degens from Wall Street bets in
Yeah.
in Reddit. That is like what's going on, right? I mean, we saw it with what happened with GameStop and stock, right?
Hmm.
So and so on. He was interested to see how it's gonna shape the new uh, stock market, I guess.
Yeah, so interesting. Imagine traditional stock market folks losing 3%. They just like going crazy, but 3% is like 20 minutes in crypto. So it's
24/7, right? Because the Bitcoin is
right.
like never sleeps. It's trading
Yeah.
across the
Uh,
world
yeah.
compared to the stock market that it closes in different days. So yeah, it's a completely new instrument for them as well. I mean, they have futures, but only savvy, smart money in theory they used to be able to do that. But now you have these instruments that anyone can trade.
Yeah, very true. Well, lots of good stuff there. Lots to learn from him. He's got a lot of insights. We recommend y'all go check him out. All right, what's next here, Mondo? What do we got?
Man, I have been using the full self driving, and this news pop up in my in my feed. Uh, they basically a Tesla just fly through a deer.
Oh
They
God.
didn't even care. And guess what? There is a lot of deers around my house. So I
Uh-huh.
live by the lake and the woods, and it's like, man, it's like this thing. I need to be careful because maybe might not be able to catch it. So what do you think about that?
Luckily, you got the Cybertruck, man. I don't think you're even gonna feel a bump. That's the thing.
It's like,
But here's the
tudum.
thing. So,
What was that?
so here's the thing, though. So, like, okay, if y'all haven't seen this, it's on Twitter. I think who was it? Paul S. Shared this video of his, the camera on his
Mhm.
vehicle, basically running over a deer, and like it didn't even flinch. FSD, full self driving, didn't flinch, right? But I thought that's what you're supposed to do though, because don't they say if you brake when you're about to hit a deer or something, it flies into your windshield, so you don't want to brake. So I think FSD did the right thing, just plowing through. I think that's what they recommend, isn't it?
I don't know,
Y'all
man.
let
But it's
me
like
know. Okay, y'all
I
leave it in the
doubted that the
comments.
programmers, if there is a deer, just fly through.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't know how many people plowed through deers in the training data. So who knows? But I think that's actually the correct thing to do. You're supposed to just plow through. Of course, if you're going at speed, if you're going highway speeds or something like that, I think they say you're just supposed to not slow down, because then your car, as it's stopping, it tilts forward, and then it gives more chance for the animal, the deer, whatever, to get into your
I,
windshield.
you know, I'm liking my Cybertruck, but this time I think that the system didn't just recognize, the AI didn't recognize the freaking deer. That's what I think that happens.
True, true. I kind of agree with that. That's probably a very, very long tail corner case there that it's got to learn. So maybe next week we'll get the deer update on our Cybertruck. What's
Elon, by the way, because I'm
it?
using the full self-driving car, and it has this option that when you disengage, because it sometimes makes mistakes, and you just disengage, try to just stop and remove from FSD,
Mhm.
and then it has a button that you can ask you, it's like why. Basically, it has a banner. It's like why you disengage, and every time I'm just pushing the button, it's like fix it, Elon. So every time my wife's like just shaking her head.
I tell I tell it, stop trying to kill me.
Well, Alec, fix it, Elon. Maybe we'll make a movement here.
Fix it, Elon. Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, okay. Well, but on that, I think it's kind of cool that there's this feedback loop, right? Because usually I'm using FSD a lot. Pretty much every time I go out, I have it on. Even I like that. Even you don't even need to have a destination put in your GPS. You can just turn it on, and it'll just kind of keep going straight, right? It doesn't really care. It'll just kind of keep going in the direction that you have it pointed at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I take over a lot, and it's really nice that I can tell them like why I took it over. A lot of times I find that the lane changing, it takes too long. Like it waits to the last minute, and it's gonna like cut someone off. So usually I'll either take it over, but you can also provide input. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
You can tell it to change lanes by
Yeah.
just
You
putting
can
your
you can
signal
change the
on.
lane there and start changing it. You can accelerate. It just tells you, like I won't be able to stop, right? But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
But I think that's kind of cool. They should also add kind of like if it's trying to go through an area that I don't want to go through, I would like to be able to tell it no, take this other route just by talking to it. Like, you know, don't take the highway, take the bottom streets or something like that, right? Something to that effect. I think that would be kind of cool, just because.
Ramirez, I think that you just want to tell the Tesla my way or the highway.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what I want. So I think this will be pretty cool for Grok. They should load Grok, so
Oh yeah, they should
I
put
can talk to it.
Rock. Yeah.
They can understand what you really want without having to like pick at this, pick at that, because then it gripes at you. You're not paying attention. You're not paying. Well, I'm trying to tell you it's.
Dude, I'm probably gonna do a video of that. I was testing. By the way, if you are listening this, I'll put the images so you don't have to. It gives you some strikes, and I think that after 3 strikes, they'll stop the service for you.
You get shut down for a little bit. Yeah.
No,
I haven't
no,
gotten
no.
strikes yet. Have you? I don't
I
know if it's
have.
permanent. Like it's like a month or a week or something.
I tested
If
out
it's
to
happened to
see.
y'all let us know. Y'all let us know in the comments.
Yes, in the comments tell us. But if you already don't have it, but I hear that some people they didn't care and they just lost the service like forever. So they have some rules there. I just did it in order to see what happened, right? Like, okay, what happened if I don't listen to this thing, right? And just alert, and suddenly you couldn't even use the FSD. So yeah, don't do it. We'll put a video for that.
So do you have FSD now, or is it gone for right now?
No, it's just basically for the length of that trip.
Just for that trip.
Yeah, but basically, if you get 3 strikes or 4 strikes, you are like they'll cancel the service for you indefinitely.
Yeah. So. Well, that's pretty interesting. Well, these Cybertrucks, I know we said that they got through like the whole ordering, like they got through the whole list last week. We talked about that, but apparently they're ramping up. They're making 10,000 trucks, I think, a month now as their ramp up rate, their production rate. It's pretty good. I think they released it in their Q3 earnings report.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting. Like, we're hearing kind of conflicting things like, hey, no, they're not buying them anymore, or they got through the foundation series list and things like that. But at least sounds like they're still ramping up on these items.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. I think it's just going to keep getting better and better, especially with the cyber cab that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe next year, maybe 2026. I don't know if y'all saw the video where MKBHD said he's going to shave his head if it doesn't come out, or if he does meet his deadline.
And we also said that Ramirez will too.
If he does. I thought we said Mondo was going to do it, not Ramirez.
No, man. This is the brand.
That's too funny. Well. So anyways, we'll see how all that kind of comes out. Let's go ahead and move over into kind of our next topic. Bitcoin, just in general, we've seen a lot of talk in terms of, okay, Bitcoin uses a lot of electricity. Um, how do we counter this? And we've seen a lot of the politics, like trying to figure out how to get miners to slow down and things like that. But a lot of folks are realizing that it's actually a green and sustainable thing that miners are actually doing. Have you heard of this argument, Mando?
Yeah, I mean it's even Elon, he was saying that when he dumped his a lot of his Bitcoin from Tesla, that was his point. Until it's not like green, I cannot vouch for this, right? So it has been back and forth, and now you have like different places that they have maybe uh, power plants to try to start mining. So yes, that's a problem in the ecosystem that they say that they shouldn't be using coal for, or at least has to be green energy.
Yeah, I mean, we see El Salvador, right? They're doing the volcano
Hmm.
to power to power. I mean, that's pretty green, I guess. I mean, you're harnessing the power of volcano to do your Bitcoin mining. I think that's pretty neat. But there's a lot of other folks that are doing leveraging renewable resources. I know Texas is big on wind energy as well. So there's a lot of things industry wide that folks are doing. And here's also the other thing. So whenever the grid is has too much production, like there's too much electricity and it's going to fry all the lines, you can turn on these mining companies can turn on all their miners, and it soaks up all the extra electricity that's in the line, so it doesn't damage the grid. So this is also helping, because a lot of times when the opposite is going on, when there's not enough electricity in the grid, and they'll need to turn on like a coal plant. So that's, a coal plant is not a good way to generate electricity. There's a lot of byproducts to that. You know, the miners can also just turn off, so that there's a little bit more supply in the grid, and people, don't have brownouts or blackouts and things like that. So the miners are playing this interesting part where they can either soak up extra electricity, or release or reduce demand for that electricity by not having their miners on. So I think that's really, really cool thing. But one other thing that I see that's coming out of this that's really interesting is the nuclear power.
Yeah.
Folks are starting to look more into nuclear power. Aside from the fact AI is driving a lot of this as well, because all those GPUs running in the data centers are using a lot of power also. So we need some sustainable forms of energy, which is going to be these power plants, these nuclear power plants. The same thing can be used to support these Bitcoin miners. So I think
Hmm.
there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out of it.
Look, we always steer away from politics in the channel, right? We are trying just to make it very kind of very logical, things like that. But it's very hard to, in some point, not to get into politics. Like it's El Salvador is the government that is allowing to basically kind of extract them from there, right? There is something that happened very interesting this week. Michael Saylor met with candidate President Donald Trump, and there was something very interesting that Trump said, which is basically uh, that in this case Bitcoin, it should be more like money. Basically, why you need to pay capital gains. And there is a tweet from Michael Saylor on that. That's going to be a huge ripple effect because,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes sense though. Imagine if you want to just buy a coffee, like whatever, $6, $10, and then you want to do it with your Bitcoin. Guess what?
You got to
If
take
you
your notepad out, write it down, because you got Big Daddy IRS is going to come after you to
that's
collect your
right.
capital gains tax from buying that coffee, right?
So we'll see how that pans out. It's a great idea, in my opinion, because if you want to increase the usability and the utility, then maybe you don't need to pay that capital gains. So we'll see how that shapes out. That literally was, I'm trying to look for the tweet. It was on October 30 when it was mentioned by Michael Saylor's feed.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's the holy grail right there. I think a lot of people would rejoice with that. There's other places that don't, like, I think Dubai is like, hey, man, we want all of the Bitcoin folks to come over here. Same thing with El Salvador. They're like, y'all come over here because they realize that that's going to be a big boon for their economy. They get more of these tech savvy people. They're building businesses, things like that. So these areas have proven a lot of this out. Like, it's good to try and recruit these people, and these are some of the ways that you do it, right?
Yeah.
What some of the politicians here in the U.S., RFK, Trump, big proponents like Michael Saylor, Elon Musk, they're saying like, this is something that we need to be looking forward in terms of adopting. We want to be at least in the upper echelon of the folks in the world that are capitalizing on Bitcoin and crypto and things like that versus kind of fighting against it, which in a way it's almost a losing battle. And if you drag your feet on it, you're going to fall behind in the worldwide. We also saw in the news that the the BRIC countries are also, they've got a bunch of new members, right? And now they're competing
Hmm.
against the G7 countries, and they're also looking at adopting on the crypto side or doing um, digital money. So what happens when you've got a big group of different countries that are also looking at adoption of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and things like that? Is going to put even more pressure on the U.S. and eventually, through game theory, right? We're going to be. Do we really want to be kind of the last ones to the party and be behind, and potentially not even be able to catch up, right?
I, you know, if you think about it, you have heard this before in many different places where uh, buying Bitcoin like 10 years ago, it was almost like an IQ test. If you were doing it, it's like you saw something there, right? That a lot of people didn't, and now obviously it paid off. So now I think that the whole idea is to be able to kind of protect, which in these countries, in mine, Argentina lost 90% of their value on their peso. And also for all of these countries, what are they going to choose? Are they going to be like buying rupees, which is the currency for India? Like, no. Right? Or are they going to trade in freaking like Zimbabwe, right? If Zimbabwe just decides to join? No,
Right.
not really, right? And if they don't want to use the dollar, I think that maybe it's a good proxy, in this case, to use Bitcoin. We'll see. We probably want to see maybe some of those countries start adopting, and because now they have it, they're going to say Russia and China, they're going to say, okay, okay, whatever, we'll take it, right? When it's funny because they were very against from the beginning. If you remember, the first years of Bitcoin, it was very dictated on China, kind of banning it or not banning it.
Yeah, I think they banned it 50 times or something, right?
They can't. That's the beauty of
Right. That's the
Bitcoin, right? It's
point.
like this is funny because they cannot even, they can ban it over there because the banks will not allow you to kind of exchange it. But a person can move to a different country if they were able to get out of their countries and just move to another one and then just get out. So they can try to ban it, but they just will see the outflow of people.
Yeah, very true. And we talk a lot about Bitcoin, and folks they have a lot of these arguments that saying, well, it's might be slow, or there's a lot of fees and things like that. So I think that is just kind of on the surface level. This is true. I think in the end, it might be used by for country to country, like sending back and forth at settling between countries, kind of worldwide scale versus like person to person. There's second layer solutions like the Lightning Network that are probably going to become a lot more prevalent. I mean, all of the Lightning Network has been being used for a while now, and actually, it's the adoption is picking up more and more. I think it's over doubled. I think from the last year, there's probably around 5,000 BTC within that network right now that's going back and forth. And what that allows is so that you don't have to have these you don't have to wait a long time for it to authenticate on the network, and there's kind of less fees and things like that, so it's a lot quicker. Start hearing a little bit more about the Lightning Network and things like that as Bitcoin becomes adopted a little bit more. So those are the types of solutions that we're going to see start trickling down over time. once really all these countries are really starting to adopt it. So that's what we're going to see. And there's a lot hinging. Well, people say there's a lot hinging on in the U.S. Depending on who gets elected. But I don't necessarily think that it really hinges on that all that much. Bitcoin's going to do what Bitcoin's going to do, and it's going to kind of continue to grow and gain adoption. There might be some things like if we say there's going to be a strategic reserve in the U.S. and the U.S. is going to actually go out and buy Bitcoin every day, that could really impact the price a lot. But I think the general trajectory is heading up. So
Yep.
again, a lot of folks are saying this way or that way in the politics. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference.
No, I don't think so neither. Uh, you have maybe one candidate is more pro, right? The other one is not. But I feel that even if they're not, the whole world is moving in that direction. That is like is going to end up going in that path, no matter what person is there. I do feel that the regulations they have to be better. Like instead of having people like Gensler, on the SEC just trying to hold back when everybody's asking, "Hey, regulate this. This is here. You cannot like
I
you
think
change it, right?"
Gensler's out anyways, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm very curious who's going to be the replacement, and if it's going to be more. Um, I don't even. I'm trying to say to be pro, right? Obviously, I'm having my Bitcoiner hat here, but something that is more like by logic. It's like, hey, all of these people are presenting you some facts, and why you are not kind of giving them guidance, right? Which is basically what the government should help to provide guidance and a structure and organization. So we'll see. We'll see what is the outcome.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. Another thing that's been kind of just in the news lately is kind of AI, but AI in space. Have you heard about this stuff? What's going on at NASA and things like that?
No, but I mean, tell me about it now. It's like you're putting aliens and robots in
I
AI.
know, the where the timeline that we're in, things are getting a little crazy out there. Well, so okay, obviously we've had rovers and things like that are exploring the planets and things, and we're sending them out into space. But we're actually deploying more AI in these systems. So they're a little bit smarter in terms of where they go explore. They can think for themselves. They're a little bit more autonomous in their decision making. So they might see an interesting rock and be like, hey, that rock looks suspicious. Let's lift it up. Let's see if there's aliens. Um, but they're maybe not like that. I don't think NASA would say they're doing that. But, I'm thinking you never know. But it's pretty interesting how all of these different technologies are coming together, and it's really enabling a lot of neat technologies when we had more dumb tools and now they're becoming a little bit smarter.
Nice. Talking about those, NASA, it always has been blurring pictures. It's like why they do that, right? Like, and one of those talking about the space is that there is this notion that whether on the sea or on the space, nature doesn't do 90 degrees angles. Like it's like almost like they don't have them, right? So every time that you see kind of those structures, it makes you think it's like, this is man-made, or maybe somebody did it, right? Or an animal, but it's kind of weird that if it will be thinking in angles. So, and even bigger structures, right? They think that in the moon there are a couple of structures in the 90 degrees, and that's the reason why kind of they blur some images. And they start releasing those actually recently, a few months back. So maybe with AI, they will be able to detect as simple as that all of these different things, right? To see what it looks suspicious.
Yeah,
Like the
that's
new
very
kids
true.
will call them, it looks sus.
Looks sus. Looks sus. Yeah, AI is really good at the pattern recognition, so they'll be able to pick that stuff out pretty easily. If it can pick out, cancer in a breast or something like that 5 years before a human can see it, I'm sure it can pick out a rectangle on a picture of the moon. So, um, yeah, it's really interesting. And here's the thing: I think we talked recently about AI washing. So like, all the companies now, everyone does AI, and it's just all over the place. But there really are some areas where there's a lot of interesting use cases that are really going to make an impact. One that we've seen a lot is really about uh, writing, right? We've seen that with ChatGPT and the large
Hmm.
language models and things like that, and we see that it is getting better and better. I know Perplexity is a kind of a new one that's being talked about a lot in the news, where they're saying, "Oh, they now have access to the internet and things like that." So you can do basically like a Google search, but using AI to do the Google search, so it does some smart searching for you. It's pretty interesting. Have you had a chance to use it yet, Perplexity?
Yeah, I use it. I prefer ChatGPT. Sometimes some models, depending how you're prompting, you get more data or better data. Some of my friends that are programmers, they prefer Perplexity, like when they are like literally because it has better output. But
Uh-huh.
also some things is better Gemini, which is the AI for Google.
Google's
So
version.
so I feel that is like maybe it's like different. Like you're cooking, right? And maybe you need a flat pan versus I have no idea. I'm cooking, by the way, so I don't
A
know why I
pot.
put pick.
I don't know
I don't know why I picked that example
that
because I
analogy.
suck at that.
The big
But
black one or the
yeah, the
smaller
big
black one?
exactly.
I'm not
You get
sure.
the point. Exactly. It's like the big one. I know that we have just in the kitchen a bunch of the big one, the skinny one.
It's funny.
The I see
We're talking about
porcelain
pots,
there.
y'all. We're talking about pots. Okay.
Shit.
Uh, but
Anyways,
no,
going
you're
back
right. You're
to AI.
right. I think we're gonna have like different brands. We're gonna have like Pepsi and Coke, right? Dr. Pepper. You're
What are
gonna
you talking
have.
about? Who cares about Pepsi?
I know, right? Coke only. We don't have our sponsorship yet.
If you believe it or not,
Coke
in
AI. There we go.
one of my companies, Coke was a sponsor, so uh,
Okay.
we should be able to
Dig
reach
up
out to
that email,
them.
man.
Yes.
But even our friend Lee, he commented earlier that they're using Claude a lot. Claude is able to do a lot of good coding, and they have really good reasoning. So all of these are going to perhaps be different brands, maybe of or styles or things that it's better at. You're going to start seeing a little bit of separation, I think, in terms of ChatGPT is going to be your go-to for your friend that you can talk to, right? Ask advice. Oh, I twisted my ankle. What do I do? That type of thing. But maybe Claude is the one like, oh, I've got to build an app for my phone. Everyone's going to be a developer at that point. Let me ask Claude how to build it or to build it for me, right? You never know. Did you see the news recently from Google, Sundar?
Yes, that was the other thing that I wanted to discuss. Uh, I call it cap. You know, the
You
new
think
kids are
so?
saying,
Cap,
yeah,
cap.
it's like they're lying, right? It's like
Uh-huh.
uh, it does. There is an improvement, but basically, he said that over 25% of the code is now written by AI. Like
That's a
I
big
use it
chunk.
very often, sure, but right now it's almost like a very good auto-completion because usually what happens though in source code is that you have a lot of files. You cannot put all your code in one page. You have multiple different files. You structure it, and sometimes code is very extensive. You're talking about thousands and thousands of lines. Guess what? Every portion, they call them tokens, and some algorithms are pretty good in a certain amount of tokens. GPT has been expanding it from 1,000, 10,000, 30,000, right, and so on. And now even Gemini said that 1 million, right, tokens. But it degrades this technology when you have above 1 million tokens. Your results start just getting cuckoo, right? The AI is like just imagining, like hallucinating, and I think that the 25% maybe is isolated in some areas, but yeah, I can see that. I can see why he's saying that 25% improvement on development, but I think that is just a marketing tactic for Gemini.
For
That's what I think.
Gemini, there's
Yes.
something behind it, right? He's like, oh, we're doing 25%. How about y'all? Well, we use Gemini, so
Or there is a freaking layoff for Google coming of 20%, 25%.
oh, those layoffs, they rear their ugly head again. That's true. They've had a year here in 24, starting from early on. We did see that. So it could be. You never know. CEOs are a little tricky that way. They could
Yeah.
be a signal that they're using, sending out there. Well, okay, so I know we talked a little bit about this AI stuff that Google says we're using 25%, and I think a lot of people anecdotally will say, "No, I've used it, and it's doing all of my email communications now, right? I don't have to worry about grammar. I don't have to worry about sounding PC or professional, right? It's going to do it for you. I think that's pretty good. And a note here. I use Perplexity. I wanted to test it out to see how it would do our show notes in terms of like our planning for us, right? I will say it's not quite there, and I had to reprompt it kind of over and over to get something that was usable. I fed it like previous versions of our show notes and things like that, or of our planning notes. It did okay. Like it didn't do bad job, but like the things that it picked up on really weren't all that interesting, and they were very generic. So as a tool, I could see how it will maybe eventually get there, but right as of now, there's still kind of a lot of hand holding that you've got to do. So I mean, we'll see how that goes, but I will say that maybe I need to try it with ChatGPT next time, because they just came out with Search GPT now. So everyone's copying everyone else now. Basically, with Search GPT, it's their new prototype, and not everyone has access to it yet. Okay, basically, it's basically an AI infused search feature, so you can search the internet. So it's basically your Chat GPT, but now it has like access to the internet, and it's supposed to be able to give you citations, like where did it get this information from, things like that. Which, by the way, Perplexity also was supposed to do that. It was a funny thing. Perplexity said, "Oh, you should talk about how Bitcoin already broke $100,000." I was like, "What? Let me check my phone." No, it had not broken $100,000 yet. So it still hallucinates. Even Perplexity, even though it has access to citations or access to the internet and supposed to cite it, it will still hallucinate. So you got to be careful with it. It was super funny. I was like, "Whoa!" I got excited, but no, it was not true.
Plot twist, everything that you have seen is AI generated, right? No, really, we're far from that. but yeah, and I think that that's where the part is kind of hard, because it doesn't have the emotions, it doesn't have what is interesting for a human yet.
Heck, we
It's
even
exactly.
have problems with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
so I think that is, but I think that eventually it will get better. So, but yeah, let's keep using these tools. Don't get afraid
Yeah.
to use them, right? So embrace them,
Yeah, you got to jump
and
in.
just using it your advantage.
That's right. So Search GPT is out there now. So I think some folks are getting the Search GPT available to them. So it's supposed to be similar to Perplexity now, where it'll cite its thing, has access to the internet. And by the way, I think Perplexity noticed that I kept reprompting it, like, "No, try again. No, got this wrong. No, do this better." It automatically upgraded me to Pro. It said, "Okay, try our Pro. See if this does better." So that's kind of so I got Pro right now. I don't know how long I'm going to have it, but they said for free you could try it, because it wasn't that good yet. So, but so Google must have heard all of this going on. Everyone's been talking about Perplexity. OpenAI just did their big announcements for their Search GPT. Gemini's like, "Bro, we just turned ours on now too." So, so now everyone's got this Perplexity style search as well. So you might be able to try it with Gemini now. OpenAI's ChatGPT now should have it. Very similar to what you might have seen Perplexity doing. So I don't know if Claude's there yet, but no, I'm sure they're not far behind. Everyone's going to do their own version out there.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I think that we have a good one, man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We covered a lot of topics today. If you liked what you heard today, please support us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We asked a few good questions this time, so you guys be sure to drop those comments. Let us know what's going on. Also, our all-time high Bitcoin all-time high remix is out there. We've got over 12,000 views on that one. Y'all go check it out, pump it up. I think we almost hit an all-time high this week. We're probably this close to hitting the 74, 73K mark again. So we're very close. We test it once. Next time we'll probably bust through it. So y'all check those out, pump it up, get those numbers up. I think that's it. Dale.
Bye.